A step parenting expert, Chris Burns.
Women's mindset coach and stepmom, Chris Burns.
Welcome to the Step Parent Podcast. Welcome to the Step Parent Podcast. Today's conversation is one I think a lot of women are going to feel, especially if you've ever found yourself rebuilding your life while still needing to show up for everyone else. I'm joined by Sara McNelis, manifestation and human behaviour coach, speaker, and single mum who has completely transformed her life from trauma, survival, and feeling stuck into a woman who now leads with intention, discipline, and self-leadership. This is a conversation about what it actually takes to break patterns, take radical responsibility, and rise as a mother when life doesn't go to plan. Sara, I'm so excited to have you on. Welcome to Step Parent Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very grateful.
Oh, yay. So we're going to dive straight in. I've got a question for you, bit of a vulnerable one, but to remind my community, hey, we are human here. Tell me something that you've had to recently admit to yourself as a mum that you really didn't want to own, but if you didn't, you knew that it was going to cost you your future.
I love that you've just asked this straight off the bat. I thought
this
this was going to be the question at the very end of the potty.
No,
so
I'm
I love
for
this.
The start. Let's go.
So this is a powerful question because I feel like you could go either way. I'm like, when I read this from you last night, I thought to myself, how much do I want to show up of myself? Because I do have an experience just recently that I went through. So my son's dad has a new partner and she's got a child and they've got a beautiful family unit together. And so we all see each other at sporting events. And we just had a sporting event on the weekend and they were all there and I turned up on my own, obviously, and they've got their whole family. You know, she's got her son and my son and they're a very happy family unit. And I was sad, you know, because it made me question. So we did the sporting event and I was driving home alone. And even though for the first time in my life, I'm very content with being single, and that's, you know, I can honestly say that. But I had to reflect and go, have I made the right priorities in my life? You know, my mission with my work has always been so important. Yeah. And have I prioritized my life in the right way? Should I have been, you know, more looking for a partner, more invested in, you know, dating and finding a relationship and building a family unit. And I really had to sit in that moment, and then I just had to kind of sit in it, allow myself to feel the sadness of, you know, I could be in that family unit myself, but I have chosen a different life. And then I bring myself back by saying, families just look different. And their family looks like that and my family looks like my son and me. And I'm proud to say that I have built the life that we have for my son. And I guess he gets the best of both worlds. You know, when he's at my house, you know, it's just me and him and the dogs. So he gets all the attention. And then when he's at his dad's, he gets, you know, his dad's partner and her son. And yeah, it's just different. So but it was definitely a hard reflection for me.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that and thank you for your vulnerability. I really wanted to bring you on because it's such a great way to share the perspective of the other side for me on this podcast, right? This is called Step Parent Podcast. However, you are a beautiful biological mum who is navigating the season on her own, and again, like dating and all the things that come with being separated, right?
Yes.
And bringing a new influence into your son's life and being okay with that and how you've adjusted to that and how he's adjusted to that. You know, it is something. I was on the other side of that. I was the one at the soccer field with my family, and it would have felt really big and maybe intimidating too. And there is that grief part to it, like the component of grief where you're
definitely.
like, I'm grieving the idea of what was possible and that I chose otherwise for. But as you said, you should and are proud of what you've created, which is amazing for him to have that and for him to have that stability from you at home, like that healthy, strong mum that's like, I don't have to depend on someone else to show you what a healthy, strong mama is or a parent is in that way. Yeah,
you can do anything, and that's exactly right. There's no reliant on anyone else. So no, it is really beautiful. And also, you know, it goes both ways because I've got friends who are in amazing relationships. They've got, you know, fantastic husbands and the family unit. And my friends have said to me, Sara, I wish I had my career still. So it goes both ways.
It sure does. Yeah.
It's just, I think we always, as a human being, look and go, oh my gosh, did I make the right choices? Or, it's just a duality in the moment, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely it is. There's a narrative that single mums are either struggling or superhuman. What's the truth that sits in the middle that no one's talking about, in your opinion?
I love that question.
Yeah.
I feel like single mums are superhuman. I really honestly do. You look, and I'm sure everyone struggles at some point. It depends what you want to call struggle. But, the sitting in the middle, I have such a wonderful life. And this is going to sound very strange, but sometimes I'm really glad that I'm separated from his dad, because 50% of the time I'm doing what I want to do. It's actually great. My friends that are married, they're like, I'm so jealous.
Yeah.
Because 50% of the time my son goes to his dad's, and that time I can train when I want to train. I can go and hang out with my friends if I want to go and get a pizza, if I want to go to the beach and not have to be on the lookout that my son's not going to die from the waves. Like, it's just so, I've got it pretty good, but my son is a little bit older as well. He's 7 now, so it's easier. But back in the early days, it was tough.
Yeah.
Navigating, being a business owner and, with your son needing so much more attention and things like that. It was a lot harder back then. But
so when was that? When did you guys separate?
we separated, my son would have been around 2.5. Yep. It was a trauma bond relationship, and I fell pregnant 6 months in, and we stayed together for a few years to try and make it work, but it just was not meant to work. But I believe I fell pregnant for a reason, because I don't feel like I ever would have stopped and gone, it's time for me to have a baby, because I'm just so dedicated to my work. I'm just not sure if I ever would have stopped and said, yes, I'm going to have a baby. So I feel like it was God's gift to me to fall pregnant.
I really love that, and it's amazing that you're on the other side of things now and you've got a healthy sort of co-parenting relationship from what you've said. Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that so much.
But that's taken a long time, it was extremely hard, as everyone navigates, separations at first, and that part's hard, and then you've got to go through we went through the lawyers and the things like that. So we got the lawyers to organise us. So we just have a plan and we stuck to the plan. And then that's why now we still follow the plan, like 4 or 5 years later. We still stick to our parenting plan.
Yeah.
Same days. We've just gone to 50-50, but same days, same drop-off times,
Keeps things so seamless and simple, right?
That's it,
Not confusing.
Structure.
And for the child as well, right? Like,
of course.
For him, it's so much. He knows what's coming. He knows what's going. I know I've got 2 of my own, as well as my stepdaughters. My son's 7, my daughter's 5, and they know Fridays is our changeover day. Sissies catch the bus home from school to us. So when that changes, or when there's a shift in that, they're quite upset. And, something I've had to talk to my girls about is, hey, Fridays, I don't mind if you want an extra night or 2 at mum's. Like, that's always cool, no problem. Or if something comes up at mum's, and vice versa, we're always cool with the flexibility of that stuff. But Fridays are really important to me, because it then impacts the kids, because they've waited for a week. This is the 7th day. They're so excited. They count down the nights and things. And I don't put that on my girls at all. It's not their fault. They've got 2 homes, right? But it is important they have an awareness to our siblings not depend on us, but really, really look forward to seeing us. We're just going to have a night with them, and then they go and do whatever. Or a couple of hours. Like, it's not even that big of a deal. It's, they can leave at 5 o'clock, but it's just important they come home on that afternoon for us, I think. What you were saying about having the 50% of time to yourself, I have thought about this. I'm like, do you know how convenient that would be? I am so busy. How nice that would be to work the hours that I want to work without the kids.
And just not having to do school lunches and dinners and, I'll be at the gym tonight, and then I know a couple of my friends every second week will be like, let's go and get some Thai. And then we'll go and get Thai, and then I'll just rock home about 8:30, and, it's just little things, it's that little trickle of freedom that you don't really get.
Yeah, I love that.
So it's actually I'm actually very grateful.
Yeah. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
So great. I would love that.
Because you get to work a lot more too.
Yeah. And I'm the same. I love to work, and I love my mission and my message, and there's not enough hours in the freaking day for that, even when I don't have the girls. It goes from 4 to 2, 4 to 2. And just having those two little kids, and they're driving me mental at the moment with the fighting and the things.
But also, you know, the turnaround time from school drop off, and only a parent will get this. You drop them off and then, you know, for the working mums, you come back and work, and then the next minute you're like, oh shit, in an hour I need to go and get, you know, my child.
I know.
And just the turnaround time is fast on school days.
It's horrendous.
You get hardly anything done. Yeah, it is tough. That's why I think mums really are superhuman.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
even if you're a mum and you're not working, I mean, I feel like a mum working is probably easier than a full-time mum.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that.
Yeah.
When everything feels heavy emotionally, financially, and mentally, what does leadership actually look like for you as a mother in those moments?
You know, for me, and I learnt this 4 years ago, I started studying human behaviour. And I mean, the foundation of me has always been training and work. And I've always thought that kept me regulated. But 4 years ago, I started studying human behaviour, and I learned about the nervous system regulation. And I realised through studying that I had a completely dysregulated nervous system. I was mainly in sympathetic, which is the rush, fight, flight, you know, just that really kind of frenzy kind of approach, state, I should say. And so now I've learnt about, you know, nervous system regulation. If anything is going on and I'm starting to feel dysregulated, I just really bring myself back.
And how do you do that specifically?
I do it specifically through breathing. I mean, there's different ways, of course. I mean, I can go and training actually, breathing and exercise for me, but it depends what I need at the time. So I know when I'm feeling really flat, so when I'm in dorsal, I need to go and train, because it's usually you do the opposite action. So if I'm feeling really flat and down and sad and those types of things, I'll know, okay, I need to raise my raise that energy, so I'll go train. But if I'm feeling really frazzled, then I'll do just some deep breathing, and just like a few minutes of deep breathing.
Yeah.
Just nice, long, slow, deep breaths. I sit with how I'm feeling. I let myself feel what I'm feeling. That's very important. But nervous system regulation is the be-all and end-all of your foundation.
Yeah, 1,000% agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in all of the work I do as well. And I think that, you know, parents, any type of parent, step parent, biological parent, anyone that is managing children needs to be able to regulate their emotions and handle their own shit and not be a victim to children or an ex or the chaos that's erupting between adults. Like, don't be a victim to that, and learn how to regulate your nervous system and support yourself.
Because kids can't regulate their own nervous system. So when they're having a moment, you need to just kind of take a breath and come back to yourself and ground yourself, and then go to them. What do you need from me? You know, or maybe they just need a hug, or maybe they just need you to sit with them. But, you know, your little ones are going to regulate through you. So if you're all over the place and dysregulated, then it's just going to be chaos in the household.
I know that when I started studying human behaviour and the unconscious mind, it was sort of what led me to that was being a stepmom, right? Because I was triggered and experiencing triggers for the first time as an adult with adult emotions that weren't from childhood experiences, right? So the rest of this, yes, the underlining thing is always the childhood experiences, right? But at that time I was like, what is this feeling in my body and why can't I get rid of it? And that's what prompted me. What was your experience? What was your experience?
With what started me?
With what started you studying human behaviour?
You know, it's actually funny. I always laugh to my girlfriend. My girlfriend was studying it already with this specific coach, and she was like, you will love this teaching, come and do it. And then at the time I was like, you know what, I want a boyfriend. We always laugh and we always go, you started studying human behaviour because you wanted a boyfriend, you're sick of having, you know, chaotic relationships.
Got it.
And
yes.
It ended up changing everything in my whole entire world.
Yeah.
Everything changed. I created a new business. My relationship how I show up as a mother completely changed. You know, how I show up as a daughter, how I show up as a friend, how I date now. Just for me, everything changed. But just lightly, I actually did start studying human behaviour because I was like, yep, I think I want a boyfriend and I want to attract a boyfriend. But I've still got no boyfriend, which I'm totally fine with. But I just every other area of my life is just completely different.
Maybe you manifested yourself as your version of boyfriend that you needed at that
Oh my
time.
gosh, we always laugh though because we was like, you went into this wanting a boyfriend.
Oh my God.
Because when you start studying human behavior, it is hard.
It's almost heartbreaking in the same sentence.
Hard. I remember one time I had to sit with the shame because I used to smack my son.
Okay.
I used to smack my son because that's how I grew up, right? My mum chasing me around with the belt and the wooden spoon. And so I thought that was normal. And because I also had a dysregulated nervous system, I was, if he was acting out, I couldn't regulate myself to see what he actually needed. And when I started studying human behavior, because we one of our modules was on parenting, and I learned a lot about that. And I was like, I had to sit in the shame of what I had been doing to my son for all of those years, smacking him. And oh my gosh, I remember this one specific time I really had to sit in that. And I was supposed to go out for the weekend, and I called my girlfriend, a different girlfriend, and I said, I can't come. I'm just sitting, I need to just sit in this shame. And I sat in the shame all weekend. I mean, not purposely, I was hoping it would go, but I just needed to sit in there to integrate that feeling. And never do I smack my son. And that's been years.
Yeah.
I might give him a little clip if he's like, but not smacking him or anything like that.
Yeah, look, I will be totally honest with that. I went through a similar experience, and the only times where I am so immensely triggered is when my son hits my daughter. So he's 7, she's 5, and she is the petitest, prettiest little darling girl with red hair down to her bottom, and she's an angel from heaven. And she doesn't often retaliate or even start anything. And even if she does hit him, it doesn't hurt. I know it doesn't. He's a big boy, and that grinds my gears. And I know that's my own trigger. But even as someone who can dissolve shadows and triggers and is so emotionally intelligent, and I lead my family so well, I still have moments, right? We're human. The human's going to show. And I think it's what you choose to do with your human that makes you the better person, right?
Of course. And I think it's also really beautiful. I love now that I can share things with my son, like what, maybe what's coming up or how I'm feeling or how is he feeling. And that's another beautiful thing about human behavior. I really learnt, now I'll say to my son, how are you feeling? And he's like, I'm not sure. I'm like, well, you're happy, you're sad, you're nervous. I go through all that. It's really beautiful how you can now show up as a parent once you've learnt to really regulate your nervous system.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you feel like and whilst you're not dating now, do you feel like you would have some pretty firm boundaries in place regarding dating and bringing a man into your son's life, but B, to that person, then your ex and like that ex relationship having awareness to your personal life through your son, if that makes sense? Great question.
So I was in a relationship all of last year.
Okay, great.
And he was amazing with my son. Like he was good. He was Italian, so, very strong when it comes to family, his values there. And it was somebody that I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to spend my life with him. But I realized from the universe I still had work to do on my self-worth. So we separated at the end of last year, and I felt terrible for my son because my son was constantly like, when are we going to see him again? When are we going to see him? Yes. And so I really had to just say to my son, we've separated, it wasn't kind of working out. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was tough. So this time around, I will wait at least 6 months until I introduce my son to a man.
And do you encourage women to follow that sort of process as well?
I don't encourage women to do anything when it comes to parenting because I feel like that's not really my sphere of expertise.
Yeah.
But because I've only learnt that through my own experience.
Yes, correct.
So if it was a girlfriend, yes, I would definitely say that, but I wouldn't be sitting here on a podcast and be like, absolutely, this is what you should do. Because I don't really know, to be honest. I just know that I went through an experience and I would do things differently next time round.
What do you feel like you learnt from that?
I feel like, from the relationship, what I know now, if I knew that back then, I would have left it around 3-4 months anyway. Yeah. You know what I mean? It wasn't aligned. He wasn't a great man. He wasn't the man that I kind of thought. I created an illusion of this man, and it wasn't true. And I held on to the things that I liked. He was great with my son.
Mm-hmm.
You know, his family was great with my son. And I held on to things that really, you know, are not overly important in the grand scheme of having a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I definitely have learnt that way.
Yeah. Something I really struggle with is society, and I wrote a piece for Mamma Mia actually, commentary, on, I didn't write the piece, Annalise Todd wrote the piece on the perspective of women with children is baggage. And this is a really big conversation in society and culture, and bringing baggage into a relationship. And same for men with children. I was warned by multiple different people, you're dating someone with kids, it's baggage, to walk away, you don't need this. And I stood firm in, no, it's not. I was a child of divorce and I don't think I was baggage. I think I was a bonus. I think I was fucking awesome for my stepparents. My stepparents weren't nice to me, but and I never saw my stepdaughters as that. And it's a conversation that I'm really passionate on speaking to, because I believe this perspective shift needs to start playing out, and I'm going to continue to spread this message. It's a fucking green flag to be dating someone that has a child, because that person has loved, they have been loved, they are committed, they are stable, often financially independent. They do not need you in their life, but they want you, and that's by choice. That isn't showing that a woman or a man who has children from an previous relationship, it's probably the biggest green flag of a human being that you can go and date if, you know, they're not playing the field, they haven't dated multiple people in their 20s and just never committed. Like, there's so much greenness to that.
Yeah.
And I feel like you might have a bit to say on that topic as well.
Well, I mean, who's saying baggage these days? I'm like, oh God,
I know.
What?
I know.
Because everybody has a history. And if you're really dating someone that's in their 30s, 40s or whatever it is, and they haven't had an experience of a relationship or whatever it is, that is a red flag.
Agree completely.
So everyone is going to have stories, and that story could be, those experiences could be children, ex-wife, whatever it might be. I prefer to date someone that doesn't have children, just for me. You know, my ex didn't have children. I tend to be more attracted to people that don't have children, but that's just for me. You know, I don't know what the universe has in store for me for my future. You know, I might meet a man who's got kids. Whatever's my journey is my journey, but I prefer to date someone that doesn't have children. I don't know why I'm like that.
The independence and freedom that you've experienced probably would be cultivating that a little bit. Like, unconsciously, it's like, oh, I really enjoy my 50% off. I don't want that 50 to then be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's how I would see it. I'm married happily, but I would want my 50% to stay there. Like, I'd be like, no, this is great.
Yeah, like what happens if we've got this other child coming in after time? I'm not sure why I've really just chosen that way. I mean, look, it's, whatever happens, but yes, I do love a man that's got no children.
Yeah. Flexibility, freedom, all of the things.
Yeah.
So you have often talked about creating a new identity. I was going through your socials and things like that, having a bit of a squiz. Who did you have to stop being as a mum in order to be the woman that you are now?
You know, I've never changed the core of who I am. My identity's always stayed the same. I mean, even though I teach people, you know, if you've got a goal, you have to become a new identity. That is correct. You know, your behaviours and your patterns and your routines and your systems need to change. But the core of me has always been the same. I've always been Sarah. I've always loved to exercise, and I've always been a business owner, always. You know, the really hard part though when I first had my son was not being able to work when I wanted to work. That was tough. Yeah. That was a really hard chapter. Yes, that was a very challenging chapter for me to navigate. But my identity has really remained the same, the foundation of my identity, but my standards have changed, up-leveled. Things like that have changed.
Yeah, amazing. I love that so much. And for women that work with you or want to work with you and they're going through what they believe is an identity shift, what would you encourage them to do to really have an awareness to the woman that they want to be versus the woman they are now, and what's that little middle piece that they need to go and do and be accountable to make those changes to get to where they want to be.
People just need to be very clear on what they want. And that's the first thing that I teach. And I even offer free masterclasses on clarity masterclasses. And it's just, me giving back. I'm never selling anything. It's just because a lot of people think they know what they want, but they actually don't. People are like, oh, yeah, I want a relationship, or they're like, oh, I want more money, or I want a different job. But if you ask them details about that, they're like, don't know how much money they want to earn. They don't know if that looks like being debt-free, owning a home, what that relationship looks and feels like, and, who the other person is. So number one, tell people, get very clear on what you want, because if you don't know what you want, number one, you're not going to be able to make a plan. And also the universe, I'm a manifestation, I believe in energy. And also, the universe isn't going to be able to align that frequency and bring more of that good stuff in.
Yeah.
So clarity is number one.
Amazing.
And then create systems.
Yeah.
A plan, but create the systems around the plan.
Yeah, exactly. Like manifestation without accountability and leadership is going to get you nowhere.
Well, manifestation is 10% clarity and 90% execution.
Yeah. Completely agree.
People think it's like sit back, oh yeah, I know what I want and I'm just going to sit back and chill. But it's actually no. You've got to do the work. And then the universe is going to align that frequency and go, she's doing so well. Look what she's doing. She's really making changes. She's in alignment. I'm going to give her more of that good stuff.
Yeah.
That's what manifestation is.
I love that so much. I think that needs to be like a little clip that we're going to take out of this episode, because that was great. That is fucking landing gold, pure gold. Thank you so much. So you are obviously quite big on health, discipline and embodiment. Why do you believe so many mums let that piece of themselves go as they step into motherhood? And what does it actually cost them long term?
Oh my gosh.
Big question.
Honestly, exercise can literally change your life. And people say the same about meditation. Exercise really does change your life. And if you start doing it, you'll know how much different you feel and how you show up in your relationships, how you show up for your children, how you show up for the household is going to greatly impact this. So I don't ever understand people that exercise and then they stop exercising. I don't get it, because I'm like, how can you go from feeling this amazing feeling? Not when you're in it, it's hard, but when you finish, how can you just walk away from that? So I think it's just people being, need to learn to be more consistent, creating systems around their training schedule so they don't drop off, having certain times every day that they go, the same days, the same times, they find friends to go and train with. Consistency is key, but it's really about the systems. So, it's like, what's that saying, a happy wife, happy life.
Happy life, yeah.
It's true.
That's
and
me.
Exercise, is the core of that.
Yep, perfect. I love that answer so much. I think that women, first thing to go is your health, and which sucks when you're a mum and you've got to make sacrifices. And I have been in the thick of that before, and not because I wanted to, because I didn't have a choice to. The time and the restraints and the 4 kids and all the things that we went through at that time meant that I couldn't do my 5 a.m.s anymore. And I'm back. I'm on the other side of that now, and I'm consistent with my 5 a.m.s. And Justice, who you met before, is my best friend, and I found her through training. And we went
same with all my friends are all through the gym.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we see each other in the mornings, and this is the most social we've been in 12 months because we drove down to Sydney together and we're having the day together, and she's helping me out. But that has been paramount in my training and my mental well-being, because when she notices when I'm not there, I notice when she's not there, because we don't go home on the natural high that we normally would.
It's the best.
It's the
Training
best.
with your friends is the best.
It's a vibe.
I know. And when you're not there, it's also huge accountability, because, it's like, I'll see you today at 5 o'clock. And then, sometimes if I don't feel like it, and even though I've owned gyms for the last, 16 years, even if I don't feel like it, I'll call my bestie and I'll be like, oh, I really don't feel like training today. Like, I think I might just stay home with Noah. I'll be like, I was going to stay home with Noah. Like, he doesn't feel like going in. Yeah. And she's like, get in the car.
Love it.
Yeah. So it's
Love
just
it.
like,
Full
there's no
accountability.
excuses. But just reflecting back on what you said, And I got asked this when I first moved to Sydney 11 years ago. A business mentor of mine said to me, because I just was about to, start my gym, he said, what are your non-negotiables? So you used to own a gym in Lake Macquarie. You're in Sydney now. It's a different ball game, right? He said, so what are your non-negotiables going to be? He said, because you're going to be hustling. And I remember 11 years ago, I said to him, my non-negotiables are exercise. Doesn't matter what is going on, I will not miss my training sessions because I know that is just the core of makes me feel good about myself.
Yeah.
So when I had my child, I took a month off work, but I was back to training after 7 weeks.
Amazing.
Because I was like, I need to get back to training because I know how good it makes me feel.
Yeah.
And even though it was really hard to navigate with breastfeeding and my son wouldn't take the bottle and all those types of things, but I didn't care how difficult it was for my partner and I that was just a non-negotiable. So women, if I can encourage anything, stop using excuses and get back to the gym.
Love it. That is mic drop moment. Love that so much and could not agree more.
Yeah,
Well done.
I'm sorry. I'm a real kind of call it out coach.
So am I.
Yeah, I'm like, stop making excuses for yourself and get back to the gym.
Yeah, that's it. And
Because
it's like,
no one's busier than anyone else. You know, I was like, but I've got this and I've got this and I've got this. And I'm like,
Make the time.
You sound like all my other clients. Like everyone these days everyone's got a life.
we're all busy, man.
Everyone has a life.
We're all busy. Micro habits support the macro goal. And if your mental health is a part of your macro goal, to have a strong mental mindset and feel emotionally intelligent and feel like you can take responsibility of things and lead your home really, really well and be the best parent, well, what the fuck are you not doing?
Yeah.
Like, tell me why you're not getting up and training. And if you're not training, why aren't you walking? If you're not walking, why aren't you go for a 20-minute walk outside, go for a 2 minutes of burpees. I used to say this when I was in the early stages of newborn and 18-month-old at home, and it was COVID too, which was hell. 12 minutes of work was all it took, and I set the timer every day, and sometimes it was 2 minutes of burpees. And that's all I did in the kitchen, and that is all I could do if we were sick, if whatever, but
it's enough to shift that state.
100% shift the headspace.
Get the endorphins flowing, get the blood flowing through the body, like just to kind of shift that state. But, if women really want to change their bodies, go and lift some weights.
Yeah.
You want to change your bodies. Pilates and running and walking is all amazing. Exercise, whatever you're doing is beneficial. But if you really want to change your body, you have to be lifting weights.
Yeah, completely agree with that statement. I think anyone that knows me and is listening to this knows that I completely agree with that. If a mum is constantly overwhelmed, burnout and stuck, at what point does that stop being her circumstance and start being her responsibility? My final question for you.
Oh, well, I'm all about taking yourself out of victimhood. And I know that you said that before too. And I was like, oh, I love that so much. You really just need to own your life and stop blaming the circumstances and go, what do I want? So get very clear on what you want and what's going on right now. How am I going to get from A to B?
Yeah. What's it going to take? What am I
what's
doing
it
about
going to take?
Yep.
Take myself out of victimhood, stop blaming other people.
Yeah.
And go, okay, if I want to get from A to B, it's hard though. If I'm going to get from A to B, then I need to make it about me. So it's really taking yourself out of victimhood. Stop making excuses, make a plan and execute.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
Or stay exactly the same. No problems.
I've said that too. I'm like, or you can just remain where you are. Just stay exactly where the fuck you are. Good luck with that, babe.
Totally. But if there's people listening to this podcast, they're obviously listening to this podcast because they
want to do better.
Yes. They're interested in growth.
Yeah.
So it's like you really need to look at what's going on. I had a client, I've got a mastermind container at the moment where I work really close-knit with people. And I said to all my clients, we only just kicked off last week, and I said to my clients, message me, and I've never done this before, and I said, text my mobile if you ever need anything. I said, instead of going through this different avenue through the app, I said, text my mobile just so we can get it done. I don't want you spiraling. And she sent me a couple of messages, about, I can't even remember. It was like something to do with food or something, and then the other one was the gym or something. And then I was writing back to her last night. I said, hey, stop making excuses. Get your shit together.
Yeah.
Stop making excuses. Oh, I forgot to make my lunch, so then I ended up overeating at the work and I ate all these things. And I'm like, that just is a whole bunch of excuses. Don't text my mobile over that shit. Get yourself organized. You already, it's like the basic training that we do, when it comes to our goals. And it's just like, don't text my mobile over that.
Yeah. Exactly. I've got quite firm boundaries with clients and tech support, which is like, give me a real problem. Give me a real problem you're going through, and I'm down with that, and we'll go back and forth, and I'll spend 20 minutes of the working day.
Totally.
That's what you're paying me for.
But don't text my mobile about you didn't take food to work, so then you ate too much food you didn't prepare your lunch, so then you oversnacked at work.
Cool. Just tell me when we check in that you've gained weight as to why. That's why.
Yeah.
I wasn't honest with you and I did this. That's probably the answer to the question.
Rather
than, wasting your time. I completely understand that and resonate so deeply.
And especially because I was at home, it's 7:00 at night. I'm doing dinner with my son. I'm spending time with my son, and it's just like this time is important to me.
Yeah.
Please don't text my mobile about something really trivial when I've got my, when it's time with my son.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sarah, thank you so much for coming on the show
My
today.
pleasure.
I am so grateful to have had this conversation, and I feel like it gives, a bit of a different angle and perspective to the other side of things in single mum life and navigating that season. And you are beautiful and you speak beautifully. Thank you so much for sharing your story, your vulnerability and what you do.
Thank you.
For anyone who wants to connect with you, where do they find you?
Oh my gosh, you can absolutely find me on Instagram. So I'm Sarah without a H though.
Okay, Sarah without the H. I'll put everything and link it in the show notes of the episode.
Yes, yeah. You can just connect with me on Instagram, and then, through my website, I've got lots of different programs.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
To my listeners, thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it today, please make sure that you leave a rating or a comment. We love to see it, and I will see you next week.